The call of the wild, leaving the ordinary behind. Ethan Carter was restless. He had always felt a deep yearning within him, a call that echoed through his bones, urging him to break free from the mundane and explore the unknown. His small town felt like a cage. The familiar streets, the predictable routines, and the same faces day in and day out made him feel trapped. It was as if the walls were closing in on him, suffocating his spirit. Every day was the same. He craved adventure. The monotony of his life was unbearable. He would sit in the local coffee shop, staring out of the window, imagining the vast world beyond his reach. He longed for something more, something extraordinary. He wanted to see the world. The thought of distant lands, diverse cultures, and breathtaking landscapes filled his mind. He would spend hours looking at maps, tracing routes with his fingers, dreaming of the places he would one day visit. He dreamed of wild places, untamed wilderness, towering mountains, and uncharted territories called to him. He imagined himself standing on the edge of a cliff, looking out over a vast expanse of untouched nature, feeling truly alive. One day he decided to make a change. The decision was not easy, but it was necessary. He knew that if he didn't act now, he would be stuck in this cycle forever. He needed to break free and follow his heart. Ethan sold all his possessions. He held a yard sale, parting with items that once held sentimental value. It was a liberating experience, shedding the material weight that had anchored him to his old life. He packed a single backpack. He carefully selected only the essentials, knowing that he would need to travel light. Each item he packed had a purpose, and he felt a sense of readiness he had never experienced before. He was ready for a new life. With his backpack on his shoulders, he stood at the doorway of his home, taking one last look at the life he was leaving behind. He felt a mix of excitement and apprehension, but he knew this was the right path. This was his chance to be free. The open road stretched out before him, filled with endless possibilities. The sunrise symbolized a new beginning, a fresh start where he could redefine himself and his purpose. Ethan chose to go backpacking. He wanted to immerse himself in nature, to feel the earth beneath his feet and the wind on his face. The simplicity of life on the trail appealed to him, offering a stark contrast to the complexity of his previous life. He wanted a real challenge. He sought out difficult terrains and harsh conditions, pushing himself to his physical and mental limits. Each obstacle he overcame was a testament to his determination and resilience. He would travel on a budget. Luxury was not his goal. He wanted authenticity. He cooked his meals over a campfire and hitchhiked when he could, embracing the unpredictability of his journey. His journey would take him to remote corners of the world. He visited places untouched by modern civilization, where he could connect with nature and experience life in its purest form. These remote locations offered him the solitude and reflection he craved. He would face his fears. Whether it was walking along a narrow cliff path or exploring a dark cave, he confronted his anxieties head-on. Each fear he conquered made him stronger and more confident. He would push his limits. The journey was not just about seeing new places, it was about testing his endurance and willpower. He hiked through snowstorms and crossed precarious suspension bridges, always pushing himself to go further. This was more than a trip. It was a transformative experience, a journey of self-discovery. He spent his evenings journaling by the campfire, reflecting on his experiences and the lessons he was learning. It was a personal quest. He sought not just to explore the world, but to understand himself better. Meditation and solitude became integral parts of his routine, helping him find inner peace and clarity. Ethan's friends and family were worried. They couldn't understand his need to leave everything behind. They feared for his safety and questioned his decision, but Ethan knew he had to follow his heart. This was so unlike him. He had always been the cautious one, the one who played it safe. But something had changed within him, igniting a fire that could not be extinguished. He had always played it safe, but Ethan was determined. He stood at a crossroads, both literally and figuratively, ready to take the path less traveled. The distant peak symbolized his aspirations, and he was ready to climb it. He knew this journey would change him. The world map in front of him was no longer just a piece of paper, it was a canvas of opportunities. The sunrise represented the dawn of a new chapter in his life. He was both excited and scared. The unknown was daunting, but it was also exhilarating. Sitting by the campfire, he felt a mix of emotions, but he knew that this was the feeling he had been craving. This was the feeling he had been craving. The thrill of stepping into the unknown, the anticipation of new experiences, and the joy of living life on his own terms filled him with a sense of purpose. Ethan bought a one-way ticket to Reykjavik. It was the first step in his grand adventure. The airplane taking off symbolized his departure from the ordinary and his embrace of the extraordinary. His adventure was about to begin. As he boarded the plane, he felt a surge of excitement. The new destination awaited him, filled with endless possibilities and new horizons to explore. He was stepping into the unknown. The world was waiting. With each step he took, he was leaving behind the ordinary and embracing the extraordinary. The journey ahead was uncertain, but it was exactly what he had been searching for. Land of Fire and Ice. Hitchhiking through Iceland. Iceland, a land of stark contrasts where fire meets ice, and the landscapes are as diverse as they are breathtaking. This is the story of Ethan, a young adventurer who decided to explore this unique country in the most unconventional way, by hitchhiking. Iceland was like another planet. The terrain was otherworldly, with vast stretches of black sand beaches, towering waterfalls, and rugged mountains. Every turn on the road revealed a new and awe-inspiring vista. Volcanoes rose out of glaciers. These fiery giants, capped with ice, were a testament to the raw power of nature. Ethan marveled at the sight, feeling both humbled and exhilarated. Geysers shot boiling water into the air. The ground beneath his feet rumbled as the geysers erupted, sending plumes of steam skyward. It was a reminder of the geothermal forces at work beneath the surface. Ethan felt tiny against the vast landscapes. He decided to hitchhike. Standing on the side of the road, thumb outstretched, he felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was a journey into the unknown. This was the best way to experience Iceland's raw beauty. He met friendly locals. Each ride brought new conversations and insights into Icelandic culture. The people were warm and welcoming, eager to share their stories. They shared stories and laughter. Around campfires and in cozy homes, Ethan listened to tales of Viking ancestors, folklore, and the challenges of living in such a harsh yet beautiful environment. He even picked up some Icelandic phrases. "Takk fyrir," he would say, thanking his hosts. The language, though difficult, became a bridge connecting him to the people he met. One night Ethan camped under the northern lights. The auroras painted the sky with vibrant hues, a celestial dance that left him in awe. It was a moment of pure magic. The sky danced with green and purple. It was magical. The lights seemed to pulse with a life of their own, casting an ethereal glow over the landscape. He felt a deep connection to nature. In that moment, under the shimmering lights, Ethan felt a profound sense of peace and belonging. The vastness of the universe seemed to embrace him. He was alone, but not lonely. The solitude of the Icelandic wilderness was a welcome companion. It gave him time to reflect and find clarity. The silence of the wilderness was calming. The only sounds were the whispers of the wind and the distant calls of birds. It was a symphony of nature that soothed his soul. He listened to the wind whispering across the lava fields. The ancient lava fields, remnants of past eruptions, told stories of the Earth's fiery past. Ethan felt a deep respect for the land. He felt more alive than ever before. The raw beauty of Iceland invigorated him, filling him with a sense of wonder and adventure. Ethan learned to rely on himself. The journey tested his limits, but it also taught him resilience and self-reliance. He discovered strengths he never knew he had. He had to be resourceful. He cooked over campfires. Simple meals became feasts under the open sky, and the act of cooking became a ritual of survival and gratitude. He slept under the stars. There were challenges. The weather was unpredictable. Nights were cold, and the wind howled through his tent, but the beauty of the starry sky made it all worthwhile. He got caught in storms. The fierce Icelandic weather tested his resolve. Rain and wind battered him, but he pressed on, determined to continue his journey. He even ran out of food once. Hunger gnawed at him, but he learned to forage and make do with what he had. Each challenge was a lesson in perseverance. But he always found a way. He never gave up. The hardships only strengthened his resolve. Every obstacle was a stepping stone to greater self-discovery. After 2 weeks, Ethan left Iceland. His heart was heavy with the thought of leaving, but he knew that this was just one chapter in his journey. He was sad to leave. The connections he made and the experiences he had were unforgettable. Iceland had left an indelible mark on his soul. He had fallen in love with the country and its people. The landscapes, the culture, and the warmth of the locals had all woven into the fabric of his memories. But he knew he had to move on. The road ahead was calling, and there were more adventures to be had, more places to explore. His journey was just beginning. With a heart full of memories and a spirit ready for new challenges, Ethan set off on the next leg of his adventure, knowing that the lessons and experiences from Iceland would stay with him forever. Ascent to the roof of the world. Trekking the Annapurna Circuit. This journey is not just a physical challenge, but a spiritual one as well. The Annapurna Circuit is renowned for its breathtaking landscapes, diverse cultures, and the sheer sense of accomplishment it brings to those who dare to undertake it. Nepal was next on Ethan's list. He had meticulously planned this trip for months, researching every detail from the best time to visit to the gear he would need. The anticipation built up as he imagined the towering peaks and the serene beauty of the Himalayas. He had always been drawn to the Himalayas. Their majestic presence had a magnetic pull on him, a call to adventure that he couldn't resist. The Himalayas represented the ultimate test of endurance and spirit. He dreamed of trekking to Everest Base Camp. It was a goal he had set for himself long ago, a dream that symbolized reaching new heights both literally and metaphorically. But he knew he needed to prepare himself for such a monumental task. But first, he decided to tackle the Annapurna circuit. This trek would be his training ground, a way to build his stamina and test his limits. The Annapurna circuit, with its varied terrain and high altitudes, was the perfect precursor to the Everest Base Camp trek. This was a challenging trek. The paths were steep and often treacherous, demanding not just physical strength but mental resilience. Every step was a test of his determination and willpower. It would take him high into the mountains. The higher he climbed, the thinner the air became, making each breath a conscious effort. The altitude was a constant reminder of the formidable environment he was navigating. He would be walking for days. Each day brought new challenges and new wonders. The journey was long and arduous, but the sense of adventure kept him moving forward. The promise of what lay ahead was a powerful motivator. Ethan started his trek in the lush green foothills. He passed through villages. He met friendly locals. The vibrant culture and warm hospitality of the people he encountered added a rich layer to his experience. They offered him tea and shelter. These small acts of kindness were a testament to the generosity of the mountain communities. Sharing a cup of tea with the locals became a cherished ritual, a moment of connection amidst the vast wilderness. He learned about their culture, the stories they shared, the traditions they upheld, and their way of life fascinated him. It was a humbling experience to see how they thrived in such a harsh environment. He was amazed by their simple way of life. Despite the challenges of living in the mountains, the villagers exuded a sense of contentment and peace. Their resilience and resourcefulness were inspiring. As he climbed higher, the air got thinner. Each step became more laborious, and he had to pace himself carefully. The thin air was a constant challenge, reminding him of the altitude's impact on his body. The scenery became more dramatic. Snow-capped peaks towered above. Ethan's body ached. He was exhausted. The physical toll of the trek was immense, but the breathtaking views provided a much-needed boost to his spirits. But he was determined to keep going. The thought of reaching the summit, of standing at the top and looking out over the vast expanse of the Himalayas, kept him motivated. He knew that every step brought him closer to his goal. He had to dig deep. The trek was not just a physical challenge, but a mental one as well. He had to push through the pain and fatigue, drawing on reserves of strength he didn't know he had. He had to push his limits. Every obstacle he faced, every moment of doubt, was an opportunity to grow stronger. The mountains were a relentless teacher, pushing him to his very limits. He had never felt so physically and mentally challenged. The trek tested every aspect of his being, forcing him to confront his fears and insecurities. But with each challenge, he grew more resilient. One day, Ethan got caught in a snowstorm. The visibility was zero. The storm was fierce and the cold was biting. He could barely see a few feet in front of him, and the path was obscured by the swirling snow. He was lost and alone. He was scared. The isolation and the harsh conditions made him acutely aware of his vulnerability. Every sound, every gust of wind heightened his sense of fear. He thought he might die. The thought of not making it out of the storm alive crossed his mind. It was a sobering moment, a stark reminder of the dangers of mountain trekking, but he remembered what a Sherpa had told him: never give up hope. The Sherpa's words echoed in his mind, providing a beacon of hope in the midst of the storm. He knew he had to keep moving, to find a way out. The mountains test us, but they also make us stronger. Every challenge, every moment of doubt, was a lesson in resilience. Ethan emerged from the storm with a renewed sense of strength and determination, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Section 4. Dicing with Death. Braving Bolivia's most dangerous road. Ethan arrived in La Paz, Bolivia, ready for his next challenge, the Death Road. This infamous road snaked through the Andes Mountains. It was known for its hairpin turns and sheer drops. It was a cyclist's nightmare, but also a thrilling adventure. Ethan rented a mountain bike. He joined a group of other adrenaline junkies. They set off into the clouds. The ride was terrifying. The road was narrow and bumpy. The drops were dizzying. Ethan had to focus. One mistake could be fatal, but he couldn't help but feel exhilarated. The scenery was breathtaking. He was riding through the clouds. He felt like he was on top of the world. As they descended, the air got warmer. The vegetation became more lush. Ethan had survived the death road. He felt a surge of pride. He had faced his fear. He had conquered the mountain. He had proven to himself that he was capable of anything. Section 5. Lost and Found, in translation, Finding Kindness in Tokyo. Tokyo was a sensory overload. The city pulsed with energy. Neon lights flashed. Crowds surged through the streets. It was a far cry from the peace of the mountains. Ethan felt overwhelmed. He struggled to navigate the subway system. He couldn't read the signs. He was lost and alone. One evening, Ethan wandered into a small ramen shop. He couldn't understand the menu. He was tired and hungry. A young man named Kenji saw him struggling. He offered to help. Kenji spoke English. He translated the menu for Ethan. They started talking. Ethan learned that Kenji had always dreamed of visiting the Himalayas. Ethan and Kenji spent the next few days exploring Tokyo together. Kenji showed Ethan the hidden gems of the city. They visited ancient temples and bustling markets. They even sang karaoke together. Ethan realized that despite the language barrier, kindness was a universal language. Kenji's generosity reminded him that there are good people everywhere. You just have to be open to meeting them. Section 6. The Homecoming, a Changed Perspective. Ethan returned home a changed man. He was tanned and lean. He had a new spark in his eyes. He had stories to tell. He had faced his fears. He had discovered his strength. He had learned that the world was a beautiful and welcoming place. He had experienced the kindness of strangers. He had learned to rely on himself. His journey had been about more than just ticking off destinations. It had been about pushing his limits. It had been about discovering who he truly was. He had found a new appreciation for the simple things in life. Ethan unpacked his backpack. It was empty, but he felt full of memories, experiences, and a newfound sense of self. He knew that the greatest journey was not just about the places he had been, but the person he had become along the way. He knew that the spirit of adventure would always be with him. The world was still out there, calling his name, and Ethan was ready to answer.